Fisher for three. Bang! He could.
This is the Tom and Jerry Sports Show
on All Noise Radio.
Go! Score! Shoots and scores! What a play by Tavares! No! Wait!
All Noise Radio. The noise you can't ignore.
Welcome back to another episode of the Tom and Jerry Sports Show on All Noise Radio on the Live 365 app. Tom's not here today, so I'll be doing this alone. But we had these last couple of weekends, it's been just, all sports. You got the NBA playoffs going through right now. You got the NHL playoffs going through right now. We had a Mayweather fight this past weekend. A lot of things are going on in the sports world. You still got baseball that just really pretty much kicked off. You're, maybe into 30 games in the season. So, it's a fun time for sports. And, I'll kick it off with the NBA playoffs. But first, something that's been going on with the NBA, being that we haven't been here in a week, so we haven't really been able to go over this. But, we have the whole Donald Sterling problem, the Clippers owner who had said some racist comments. He's been banned for life by Adam Silver, the commissioner. It's been a big part, now, and I just feel like, there's different ways that, they could have gone through this, and, being banned for life is harsh, but in another sense, it's, this guy's gonna end up making $800 million around that to sell the team. He's already in his 80s, I believe. And then supposedly there's, reports coming out that he has cancer. So, it's, in another sense, it's, what? Leave the game of basketball. Take your $800 million. Have a good rest of your life, because it's just going to be problems. And I know, he is a lawyer, so he's going to fight this. And, I mean, for him, hey, why not? Fight it. It's gonna take a couple of years, I believe, for this whole thing to go away. But I feel like this is just gonna open up a bunch of cans of worms for other things. If an owner says something, or it's just gonna everybody's gonna jump on it now. So watch out for that. Watch out for other say a player says something like that. We had that perfect example was the Riley Cooper situation when he was at a country music concert or whatever it was. That whole thing went through, but they got over it. This whole Donald Sterling thing, they have to get over it now. It's over. Let the whole court or whatever trial, whatever they want to do with it, let that happen. Just keep playing sport. Just keep playing basketball. Clippers, just do what you have to do. It's going to be tough if he does stay with the team to, actually get players now, because, the game of basketball is primarily, black players. So, it's going to be tough for him to get players now, especially the best ones. So, I'd love to see how this plays out, but that's just a whole nother story. So let's get into the NBA playoffs. The first round has finally ended yesterday with a Game 7 between Brooklyn and Toronto, and then it was San Antonio and the Dallas Mavericks. And earlier, before the playoffs started, me and Tom also said that this Dallas-San Antonio series was going to be tough. We said that Dallas was going to play them very hard, and we weren't going to be surprised if Dallas won this series. But Dallas took them to a Game 7, and San Antonio ended up blowing them out in Game 7 to go on to the second round. But in all the other matchups, we had Atlanta Hawks taking the Pacers to a Game 7. Pacers ended up winning that Game 7. Miami, which we pretty much, guessed this was going to happen, they swept the Bobcats 4-0. Then you had Brooklyn and Toronto go to Game 7. We said Brooklyn should win the series. even though that technically it was an upset. Brooklyn takes this 4-3. Washington, this was the biggest upset. Washington beating Chicago 4-1 to move on. Like I said, Dallas lost to San Antonio in Game 7. The series ending in 4-3 San Antonio. Memphis took OKC to a Game 7. OKC didn't look that good in this series. OKC obviously was going to pull out with the W in this because Game 7, Memphis was missing Zach Randolph. Tony Allen was questionable. So OKC takes that. Golden State Warriors takes the Clippers to a Game 7. Clippers ended up winning that series. And then Portland beat Houston 4-2. LaMarcus Aldridge played his mind out of that game, out of that series. So you had to guess, just the way that he was playing, you had to guess that, they were going to take that. And in the Game 6 that they ended up winning that, Damian Lillard hit a amazing 3-point buzzer beater to take them into the next round. So now the matchups for the second round, you got Washington and Indiana playing tonight, Monday night, 7 o'clock. Then you got Brooklyn and Miami playing Tuesday night, 7 o'clock. Then you got Portland and San Antonio playing Tuesday at 9:30. And then you got the Clippers and the Thunder playing tonight, Monday night, 9:30. So, these series should be good. The Washington-Indiana series, depending on how Indiana plays, if Indiana plays like they played in the first series, this is going to be a close series because Washington played their mind out of that series against the Bulls and, won that series 4-1. So, I wouldn't be surprised if the Wizards take, Indiana to maybe 6 or even 7. So, watch out for that. If Roy Hibbert plays like he's been playing, where I think maybe two or three of these games in the first round, he didn't even have a point. So just watch out for that. Brooklyn and Miami, I think this is going to be the best series out of all of them because Brooklyn did sweep Miami 5-0 in the regular season, and Brooklyn has the team to beat Miami, and Miami has never been swept in a season series since before the big three, matched up with each other. So, watch out for this series. This series is going to be real good. Then you got Portland and San Antonio. I think this is the second best series out of the second round. And then you got the Clippers and OKC, which is going to be a good series as well. I think all four of these series are going to be very good. I think they're going to, go down to the wire. Probably, I don't think you're going to have a blowout in any of these series. The only one, if Indiana plays like they played earlier in the season, then you could be looking at a blowout with the Wizards. But I don't think that's going to happen. So keep an eye on that. With the Brooklyn and Miami series, I feel like it's going to be a physical series. You got Paul Pierce, you got Kevin Garnett, and when they were with Boston and Miami used to go at it with each other, and the team Brooklyn has to be very physical with LeBron James because you noticed in the Bobcats series. The Bobcats were very physical with LeBron James, and it kind of got him aggravated. So keep an eye on that. They gotta keep they gotta be in his back pocket the whole time. You got to be on top of him. But like I said, if we've been saying this for a while, if LeBron James starts hitting his long range shots, then it's just you just got to give up because it's not gonna work. He's gonna be. Driving, he's going to, get his N1s, he's going to make his, his mid-range shots here and there. But when he starts hitting his long-range shots, that's when you're in trouble. So, keep an eye out on that one. But in this Indiana series, the crucial player in this series is Roy Hibbert. There's nobody more crucial than him. So, when you could say Paul George, you can say, Stevenson, you could say John Wall, you could say Nene, No, it's Roy Hibbert. If Roy Hibbert plays like he plays, like he played in the beginning of the season, and like he's supposed to play, all season long, and especially in the playoffs, this is going to be a rough series for the Wizards. So Hibbert's been benched in the first round. When it was coming down to the wire in games, he was on the bench. That's not, you can't expect that from your starting center, especially if he's a top 5 center. He's not playing like that top 5 center right now. So my most crucial player right now is, Roy Hibbert. And I'll probably have to say, the guy that will be the biggest in this series, I think, is going to be Lance Stevenson, because you know what John Wall's going to do. You know what Paul George is going to do. You're hoping you know what Roy Hibbert's going to do. I think Lance Stevenson is that tiebreaker right there. He's going to be that, other crucial player that's going to, propel Indiana to win this series. But I do say, Hibbert needs to play better. And, it's going to be a tough series for the Wizards. And, I'm excited to watch this series. And then with Portland, if LaMarcus Aldridge keeps playing like he's been playing, it's going to be tough for the San Antonio Spurs. And with San Antonio, you need Ginobili, you need Parker to play the way they play. You know what you're going to get from Tim Duncan. I mean, it's going to be a nice duel to see, Aldridge and Duncan go at it with each other. So, keep an eye on that. Damian Lillard's big in this series. He's got to play better than Tony Parker. That's the exact thing. He's got to play better than Tony Parker. If he plays better than Tony Parker, it's going to be a tough series for San Antonio. So I believe this series goes maybe 6 or 7. And my heart is going with Portland because I like Portland. I love LaMarcus Aldridge. He's so underrated. And he's finally starting to get the recognition that he needs, that he should be getting. So, but I think just, sports knowledge and everything, I think it's going to be San Antonio, because I think San Antonio is going to make it to the finals. I think it's going to be a Miami-San Antonio series again. I really hope Miami doesn't make it. I'm saying, even in this series, my heart's going with Brooklyn, but my head's got to be with, Miami. And then the Clippers OKC series, I think the Thunder is going to, wake up a little bit after that first round scare. I think they're going to take it to the Clippers and probably finish them in 5. So, those are my predictions on the NBA playoffs as it is right now. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to get into NHL playoffs and some, MLB news, and as well as the NFL draft coming up Thursday. You're listening to Tom and Jerry Sports Show on Old Noise Radio on the Live 365 app. Keep it locked. Be sure to listen to the Tom and Jerry Sports Show on allnoiseradio.com and the Live 365 app Wednesdays and Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern.
I never waited on a miracle. No. There ain't no miracles around here. There ain't no miracles, no miracles. There ain't no miracles, and I'm not afraid of the impossible. No. There ain't impossible around here. There ain't impossible.
And welcome back to the Tom and Jerry Sports Show on All Noise Radio and the Live 365 app. Before I left, I was talking about the NBA playoffs. Before I get into the NHL playoffs, I wanted to get into, the awards. They've been every week or so they've been going over the NBA awards. The Defensive Player of the Year was Joakim Noah from the Chicago Bulls. Sixth Man of the Year went to Jamal Crawford. The Most Improved Player of the Year, Goran Dragic. Then you had the Rookie of the Year, Michael Carter-Williams, which you kind of knew that was going to happen. Then you had the J. Walter Kennedy Citizenship Award, went to Luol Deng. NBA Sportsmanship Award went to Mike Conley. The Coach of the Year went to Greg Popovich, which you knew that was going to happen. I mean, just the job that he's been doing with the Spurs. I mean, for as old as they are, they still had the best record in the league. So, I mean, let's be serious. And then the MVP will finally go to somebody different this year. It is going to Kevin Durant, who had an amazing year. He struggles a little bit in the first round, but I feel like he's going to pick it up and then, get him to the Western Conference Championship and probably against the Spurs, I believe. So, those are the awards for the NBA. Now I'll get into the NHL playoffs, which has been very, very good thus far, which, we've been saying all along. The NHL playoffs is the best playoff system, playoffs, no matter what it is, it's the best playoffs in all of sports, I believe. And that's our opinion. Me and Tom share the same opinion on that. And I think a lot of other people share the same opinion. But the first round, ended around last week because of us not being here. We couldn't really go over, what was going on right now. So this was the first round. You had Boston beat Detroit 4-1. Montreal beat Tampa Bay 4-0. Pittsburgh beat Columbus 4-2. The Rangers and Flyers went to a Game 7. Rangers won in Game 7. They are now 6-0 in Game 7s at Madison Square Garden, I believe it is. Minnesota beat Colorado in a Game 7. Chicago ended up coming back down 2-0 to beat St. Louis Blues 4-2. Anaheim beat Dallas 4-2. And Los Angeles Kings come back from a 3-0 deficit to win in Game 7 4-3. Now we have the second round that has just started, I think, the end of last week, maybe Friday or Saturday. We had Boston and Montreal. That series is tied 1-1. Pittsburgh and the Rangers, that series is tied 1-1. Chicago and Minnesota, Chicago has the lead in that 2-0. And the Kings have a 1-0 lead over the Ducks. So all four of these series are going to be good. I feel like the Chicago-Minnesota series will probably, Chicago will probably sweep Minnesota. But the Pittsburgh Rangers series, I believe, is going to go to a Game 7. Boston, Montreal. Montreal's been playing Boston pretty well. Montreal was in the lead in that second game, and Boston scored 4 or 5 unanswered goals, I believe it was. I think it was 4. So, Boston ended up winning that game. Then you got, the Ducks and the Kings series. I think is going to be a really, really good series. I think it'll probably go to either 6 or 7. The Boston series, I'll probably go with, a 5 or a 6. So, it's just, with the NHL playoffs, it's just so interesting because it's just nonstop, physicality. Just these last, the first 2 rounds. I mean, I can't even tell you how many times a team has tied the game up with 5 seconds left in a game. And you know how hard that is in the NHL? So, with everything in the NHL, it's just, the playoffs is just so exciting. There's not a boring part of the game. Even if it's a 0-0 game, I can guarantee you it's a very physical game, a very interesting game. There's probably, amazing saves, maybe, a crossbar hit or something like that, whatever it is. I just feel like, it's just so interesting. I can sit there and watch every game, and my team's not even in the playoffs, and that just shows you how much, how good it is. Because, right now, my team's not in the NBA playoffs, and I have no desire to really watch it. And like we've been saying, the NBA is just really not a good sport as of right now. But I will say that the playoffs have been probably one of the better ones in a couple of years. So, I'll give that to them. It's been pretty good series all around. But NHL, I mean, it's just every year. It's just a great, a great sporting event. You can sit down and watch every game, and it's just interesting all around. They're all close games. And, it's like I said, it's just totally different from the NBA. And in my opinion, it's just more interesting than the NBA. But, they really haven't come out with a lot of the awards yet for the NHL, unlike the NBA. But they do have the finalists for most of them. And for the MVP, you got Sidney Crosby, Getzlaf, and Claude Giroux. 3 great players. If I had to guess, I'd probably give it to Crosby because, I mean, he's like the LeBron of, the NHL. Everybody loves Crosby. Last night we had the Penguins beat the Rangers 3-0. Fleury played pretty well. I think he had 30 saves around that. And then you had the Chicago Blackhawks beat Minnesota 4-1. So, tonight you have Game 2 of the Kings and Ducks series. And then Tuesday you'll have Game 3 of the Boston-Montreal series. So, one hockey game tonight. And, that's about it with the NHL. But the biggest thing in NFL as of right now, you got the draft coming up on Thursday. A lot of speculation going around, with, where all these players going, who's the Texans going to take. Usually that number 1 pick is, you usually know it by now. But we can honestly say we don't know who this number 1 pick is going to be. A lot of people have been saying that it's between Manziel and Clowney, which I believe is true. So it's gonna be an interesting first round of the draft. You have a lot of great players. You got a deep draft really this year. So but in my honest opinion, I think the Texans are gonna go with Clowney at number 1. And then, number 2, I've been hearing, sources have been saying that the Rams are interested in Johnny Manziel a lot. So, even though they do have Sam Bradford, but they also said at the end of the season that they weren't going to extend his contract. So I think he's got maybe 1 or 2 more years left. So I think that would be perfect for Manziel, honestly, to play behind Bradford. And if Bradford doesn't play well, you got Manziel, so you can play him. With Manziel, it's just, there's certain teams that he'll be perfect for, and then there's certain teams that he's not going to be perfect for. And a lot of speculation has been with the Dallas Cowboys. And honestly, I don't think he's a good fit for the Dallas Cowboys. So, with the Cowboys, first of all, you have Romo. There's a little question behind, obviously having 2 back surgeries. But you're going to have Romo for at least another 3 or 4 years, maybe 5. So there's no reason to go for a guy like this, especially when you have deeper problems that you need to fix other than the quarterback position. Where the Dallas Cowboys are one of the teams that really don't need a quarterback in the first round. They can go maybe 3rd, 4th round, get a quarterback. That's fine. Because you're going to have Romo for a couple more years. But when you're talking about maybe the Browns not, being, they have questionable quarterback position, even though they just signed Vince Young and Tyler Thigpen to go along with Hoyer. I think they still draft a quarterback, honestly. Adam Schefter said the same thing. So we'll see, who goes there. I think Bortles will be the first quarterback to go, unless Manziel goes 1 or 2. But the scary thing is, a lot of people have been saying that Jerry Jones really likes Manziel, and you know what? He's a good player. I'm not saying he's not. I don't know how he's going to be in the NFL. A lot of people are looking at his size, and then, a lot of people are backing him up because of what Russell Wilson did. When you look at Russell Wilson has one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NFL right now. The best defense, hands down. He has a great front line. He has a decent front line, really. He's got good wide receivers, and he's got one of the best running backs in the league. So, he doesn't have to do that much. His biggest thing is he doesn't make mistakes. That's fine. That's a great trait to have in the NFL as a quarterback. Do not make that mistake. Don't make the mistake. That's fine. But, when you start putting, not a lot of pressure is on Russell Wilson, I believe. When he has a great defense like that, and then he has a great running back, it's just so much easier for him. He doesn't have to do as much as, a guy like Tony Romo has to do, or a guy like Tom Brady has to do. When you look at those guys are the best players on their team. They're, Romo, probably along with, Jason Witten and Dez Bryant, he's the best player on the team. You just got rid of DeMarcus Ware, and lately DeMarcus Ware hasn't been the best player on the team. He hasn't, he's a great player, but he hasn't been the best player on the team. And Romo, the Dallas Cowboys will go as far as Romo takes them. That's exactly what it is. These last couple of seasons going 8-8, they wouldn't even be close to 8-8 if it wasn't for Tony Romo. And some Cowboy fans and some other teams fans that for some reason hate on the Dallas Cowboys think that Tony Romo is just one of the worst quarterbacks in the league. It's untrue. That's just an ignorant comment. That's, you just don't know football then. And I'm not saying that just because I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan. I just know what I'm looking at. I know what I'm going to get from Tony Romo. That's exactly what, that's exactly what it is. So, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to get more into the NFL draft and then some baseball news. When we get back, you'll listen to the Tom and Jerry Sports Show on All Noise Radio on the Live 365 app. Keep it live.
Ride dirty in my city streets. Blow a half an hour and go and chase my dreams. Yeah. Swear nigga got dreams.
Be sure to listen to the Tom and Jerry Sports Show on allnoiseradio.com and the Live 365 app Wednesdays and Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern. Hey, welcome back to the Tom and Jerry Sports Show on All Noise Radio on the Live 365 app. Before I left, we were talking about the NFL draft. And, right now, a lot of signs are saying that the Texans aren't sold on Clowney at number 1. So, number 1 is still up for grabs. We have no idea who's going to go. Also, all indications are that the Rams will pass on Sammy Watkins, which is mind-blowing because this guy is, absolutely the best wide receiver in this draft class, in a very deep draft class as well. So, that could be one of the reasons why, you can pass on someone like that. So, we'll see what happens, and this is the reason why it's going to be so, interesting on Thursday, because this first round, you have no idea what's going on. You really don't. Like, usually most of the first 5 picks or so, for every year. This year, you really don't know. You have so many players that can go in that top 5. When you start thinking about it, you got guys like Jadeveon Clowney, you got Johnny Manziel, you got maybe Bortles or Bridgewater. Even though Bridgewater's been having a terrible he's had a bad pro day, he's been, his stock has been dropping. Really, that's all I can say. But you got guys like Greg Robinson, you got guys like Sammy Watkins, Khalil Mack, Jake Matthews, Mike Evans, Aaron Donald, Clinton Dix, C.J. Mosley. Guys like that. It's going to be interesting to see where these guys go, and that's why I love the draft. It's fun to watch, especially the first round. The second and third rounds get a little boring maybe, but this is this is a sports fanatic. This is what they love. That's what I can say, really. They love stuff like this. And, when you get, some people that, just watch the games or whatever, they're not going to be interested in the draft. But these are, for sports fanatics, they'll sit there, watch every round, whatever it is. And, like I said, this is going to be fun to watch, at least this year. You got, I think after these three quarterbacks, you got Bridgewater, Bortles, and Johnny Manziel. After these three quarterbacks, it's just going to, it's going to fall off for the quarterbacks, maybe third rounds or so. You might see Derek Carr go somewhere in there. I would love to see the Cowboys maybe draft Derek Carr, just because he needs help. He needs time and experience, and, he's not going to go right in and start. So I think that would be perfect for the Cowboys. In other teams, you got the Jets getting Michael Vick and Geno Smith, so they're not going to go for a quarterback. I would see them going for maybe a wide receiver, a tight end. But then other than that, I mean, you got the draft order. You got right now, the Houston Texans obviously at number 1. You got the St. Louis Rams who got this pick from Washington. So Washington doesn't have this number 2 pick, which is crazy because, they did get RG3 out of it, but Jacksonville's at number 3. You got Cleveland at number 4. You got Oakland at number 5. When you start looking at it, you see the Texans maybe going for a quarterback. If they don't go for a quarterback, they'll probably go with Clowney, I believe. But we'll see. Rams could use a quarterback. They don't need one right now. Jacksonville needs a quarterback. Cleveland needs a quarterback, but they also just signed they just signed 2 more quarterbacks to add to Hoyer. They could go with Hoyer. I think Hoyer's a good quarterback. He needs, he just needs the weapons and everything. And with the stuff that they've been doing on defense, and if they can add maybe a wide receiver or so to go with Josh Gordon, I mean, they would have a decent team, even a running back to add to them or something like that. They would have a decent team. It's just, are they sold on Hoyer or not? So that's the question. Then you go with, Oakland. Oakland just got Schaub, so they're not going to go for a quarterback. Atlanta's got Matt Ryan. They're not going to go for a quarterback. The Buccaneers, I don't think they will. Maybe. Who knows? The Vikings could use a quarterback. Buffalo doesn't. Detroit doesn't. Buffalo's got E.J. Manuel that they just got last year or the year before that. Detroit's got Matt Stafford. Tennessee, I've been hearing that they might just stick with Jake Locker, so we'll see what happens with that. The Giants got Eli Manning. St. Louis, again at 13. Depending on what they're going to do at number 2 is going to, obviously show what they do at 13. Then you got the Bears with, Jay Cutler. Pittsburgh with Roethlisberger. Then you got the Cowboys, and you don't know what Jerry Jones is going to do. He's done idiotic things in the past. So, getting Johnny Manziel would be an idiotic thing, but it doesn't surprise anybody that knows Jerry Jones. So we'll see what happens with that. Then you got Baltimore after that. They got Flacco. Jets, like I said, have Vic and Geno Smith. Miami's got Ryan Tannehill. Then you got Arizona. Arizona could, but it's you don't know who you're gonna get at number 20. It depends on they may go after maybe Bridgewater or so if they do go for a quarterback, but then after that you got Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, the Eagles with Foles. I'm hearing that the Kansas City Chiefs may go for a quarterback in the first round. Don't know how true that is, but that's what I'm hearing. But after that, I mean, everybody's got a quarterback. So this is why I feel like, if I think the 3 quarterbacks are going to go in the first round, Bridgewater, Manziel, and Bortles. And then after that, I think the next quarterback you're going to see is maybe 3rd or 4th round. So, and like I said, like I've been saying this whole time, I'm not sold on the 3 quarterbacks, even though, I think that they'll go in the first round. I'm just not sold on them. Bridgewater's just showing in his pro days, and everything else that I don't know if he's ready. Bortles, you don't know, you don't know what you're gonna get from him. He's shown signs of being a good quarterback, and then others, you don't know. Johnny Manziel has the arm strength. He has the mobile ability. The biggest thing is, can he do what he did? Obviously, he can't do what he did in college in the NFL. So how he's going to have to, really go with his arm and everything. And, how good is his head? That's the big thing. How good is his mental ability on the football field in the NFL? And that's what you're going to find out whatever team he goes to. Do I think it's going to be the Dallas Cowboys? I hope not. But I've seen Jerry Jones do idiotic things before, and it wouldn't surprise me. So I would love to see Houston maybe go after him, or even St. Louis, Jacksonville, Cleveland, whoever wants him in that top 5, go for him. But I think if Sammy Watkins passes the Rams, I think he might go Jaguars. But it's like, what do these teams want to do? Do they want to go with best available? Or, do they want to go for something that's going to help, boost up a position that they don't have? So, certain teams will go into the draft solely picking the best available in that first round. And, it's going to be fun to see. And, Kuiper and McShay had a mock draft on ESPN last week, which was interesting. I'm going to pull up a different mock draft right now. This mock draft is from the SBNation.com. This one they have Houston Texans taking Jadeveon Clowney. I'm also hearing other sources saying that the Atlanta Falcons may trade up for number 1 pick and go for Jadeveon Clowney. Depending on, how Houston feels about Clowney, I can see it happening. So, keep an eye on that. This one has St. Louis going with Jake Matthews at number 2. Atlanta, and this one has Atlanta trading with Jacksonville to get Khalil Mack. Cleveland taking Greg Robinson. Oakland taking Sammy Watkins. And I've been saying there is no way Sammy Watkins was getting past number 5, because if nobody else took him, Oakland was definitely a lock to take Sammy Watkins. There's no way. There's no way he was getting past that. Also, they were saying, with this one, obviously, like I said, Jacksonville traded with Atlanta. And this one has number 6 with Jacksonville taking Johnny Manziel. Then they have Tampa Bay taking Mike Evans. San Francisco trading with Minnesota to get Odell Beckham Jr., the wide receiver out of LSU. Buffalo at 9 taking Eric Ebron, the tight end from North Carolina. Number 10, you got Detroit taking Bradley Roby, the cornerback out of Ohio State. 11, they have Tennessee taking Justin Gilbert, cornerback out of Oklahoma State. The Giants taking Zach Martin, and he is pretty much a offensive tackle, offensive guard, or wherever else you want to put him, center, whatever it is. So, out of Notre Dame. Baltimore trading with St. Louis at 13, taking Taylor Lewin, the offensive tackle out of Michigan. Chicago taking Clinton Dix, the safety out of Alabama. Pittsburgh taking Lewis Nix, the defensive tackle out of Notre Dame. And then the Cowboys taking Aaron Donald, the defensive tackle out of Pitt, which I really like. I would really love to see that the Cowboys take him. And the analysis under this guy, it says, from a repertoire of pass rushing moves rare for a college kid to a reliable run stuffer, Donald does it all. That he'd be perfect fit for Rob Marinelli in Dallas. What if he overlaps with Henry Melton? I've never heard anyone complain about a defensive line being too deep. So, I mean, like I said, with him, Henry Melton, and then you'll have Anthony Spencer, who they just signed back for a 1-year deal. You also have Selvey on the other side. I think it's going to be a solid defensive line if they can get Aaron Donald. At 17, which was the trade with St. Louis and Baltimore, St. Louis taking Calvin Pryor, the safety out of Louisville. The Jets taking Darqueze Dennard, cornerback out of Michigan State, which they desperately need. They desperately need a cornerback because after losing Cromartie, they really have nobody except for D. Milliner. 19, they got the Minnesota Vikings with a trade with Miami taking Blake Bortles at the quarterback from Central Florida. 20, Arizona taking Derek Carr. Green Bay taking C.J. Mosley. Philadelphia taking Anthony Barr. Kansas City taking Marquise Lee. Cincinnati taking Jason Verrett. San Diego taking Kyle Fuller. Cleveland Browns taking Teddy Bridgewater at 26. New Orleans taking D. Ford. Houston with the trade with Carolina taking Jimmy Garoppolo. New England taking Brandon Cooks. Miami with the trade with Minnesota taking Xavier Su'a-Filo, the offensive guard from UCLA. And Denver taking Ryan Shazer. And Seattle taking Joel Bitonio. We're going to take a break. When we get back, we're going to talk a little bit more about the draft and some baseball news. You're listening to Tom and Jerry Sports Show on All Noise Radio on the Live 365 app. Keep it locked. Be sure to listen to the Tom and Jerry Sports Show on allnoiseradio.com and the Live 365 app Wednesdays and Fridays at 5 p.m. Eastern.
They don't give a damn about you. Kick you in the face when you down. Yeah.
And welcome back to the Tom and Jerry Sports Show on All Noise Radio on the Live 365 app. Before the break, we were talking about the NFL draft, and I was giving a little mock draft from SBNation.com. I'm going to give you another one from NFL SportsIllustrated.com. This one has Houston obviously taking Jadeveon Clowney. Pretty much everybody has taken Jadeveon Clowney, unless like I said, Atlanta trades for that number one. But I feel that that's going to be tough because you're going to need a lot to trade away for that number one pick. So we'll see what happens with that. But then this one has Tampa Bay trading to St. Louis at number 2 to take Sammy Watkins. Jacksonville taking Khalil Mack. Cleveland taking Johnny Manziel. Minnesota trading with Oakland to take Teddy Bridgewater. Number 6, you got Atlanta taking Jake Matthews, the offensive tackle out of Texas A&M. St. Louis taking, after the trade with Tampa Bay, taking Greg Robinson, who they could take at number 2. So that would be a decent trade for Tampa Bay and St. Louis. Oakland taking in Minnesota spot Mike Evans. Buffalo taking Eric Ebron, the tight end, which I think the other one said also. This one has the Dallas Cowboys trading with Detroit to take Aaron Donald, which pretty much, the other one said Aaron Donald would be there at 16. So, we'll see what happens. Tennessee taking Anthony Barr. Then they got the New York Giants taking Taylor Lewan. 13, we got the Rams taking Clinton Dix. Chicago taking Justin Gilbert. Miami with trading with Pittsburgh to take Zach Martin. Detroit taking at 16 in Dallas's spot after the trade. They're taking Calvin Pryor. Then you got Baltimore taking Jimmy Ward, the safety out of Northern Illinois. The Jets taking Darqueze Dennard, cornerback from Michigan State, same one as the other mock draft said. Pittsburgh taking in Miami spot Odell Beckham Jr. Houston trading with Arizona at 20 to take Blake Bortles, which would be solid for Houston. I mean, they'll get a quarterback and Jadeveon Clowney, so we'll see if that can come true. Green Bay taking C.J. Mosley. Philadelphia taking Brandon Cooks. Kansas City taking Marquise Lee, which the other mock draft said as well. Cincinnati taking Kyle Fuller. San Diego taking Jason Verrett. Cleveland taking Bradley Roby. New Orleans taking DeMarcus Lawrence. Carolina taking Morgan Moses. Oakland trading with New England to take Derek Carr. San Francisco taking Coney Ealy. Denver taking Xavier Su'a-Filo. And Seattle taking Rashid Hajman, defensive tackle from Minnesota. So, as we said, they were kind of different, but some of them were the same. So, I mean, if this can happen, if this draft happens, I mean, Texans, to take Bortles and Jadeveon Clowney would be solid. But like I said, I don't know what you're going to get from Bortles, so it's up to them. But that will do it for the NFL talk. I'm going to get into some baseball news. With the AL East, we were saying it last time, it's still the same pretty much. It's very close. The last place team, Toronto Blue Jays, are only 2.5 games out. Yankees still have the lead, in the division at 16-14. They've fallen off a little bit. In their last 10, they're 4-6. Baltimore has leapfrogged pretty much everybody, got to second place, but they have lost 2. They're 6-4 in their last 10. Tampa Bay and Boston are tied at 15-17. Both 5-5 in their last 10. Boston almost swept the A's, but losing the last game. Then you got the AL Central. Detroit just running away with a lot of it. They're 17-9. Next team after that is Minnesota at 14-15. And we said this division was Detroit's, pretty much to win, and it wasn't even going to be close. Then you got the AL West that we said was probably the second best division, with Oakland at 19-12, Texas 17-14, Angels 15-15, and then I don't think anybody's going to get close after that. Then you go to the NL side. You got the NL East, which, I mean, is kind of like, it's close right now. I just feel like it's going to end up being a joke later on after the All-Star break. Atlanta's 17-13, Washington 17-14, Mets are 16-14, Philadelphia 15-14, and Miami 16-15. So it's all 1.5 games, close, a game close, half a game close. So then you got the NL Central. Milwaukee 21-11, St. Louis 16-16, Cincinnati 15-16, Pittsburgh 12-19, Chicago 11-18. It's kind of surprising with Pittsburgh being 12-19 after making the playoffs last year. I think they have a solid team. It's just I don't know what's going on with them. They're 3-7 in their last 10. They're 4-10 on the road, which is not very good at all. Milwaukee, definitely, I feel I can see right now Milwaukee just put Ryan Braun on the 15-day DL, so you don't know how they're going to do in the next couple of games. I still feel like St. Louis is going to win this division because they just always find a way to do that. Then you got the NL West. You got San Francisco 20-11, Colorado 19-14, Dodgers 18-14, San Diego 14-18, Arizona 11-23. I can see this being a Dodgers and Giants division, but Colorado's surprising everybody with a 19-14 record and 7-1 in their last 10. But going back to the AL East, you got the Yankees, who has had some injury problems lately, with obviously Nova getting the Tommy John surgery and out for the season. Then you had Pineda with the whole pine tar incident, and then in the simulated game before his comeback after the suspension, he hurts his back with a lat strain. So he's on the 15-day DL. Then you got it's looking like you got Brendan Ryan, who should be coming off of the DL after his back injury, which has kept him out the whole season, really. Francisco Cervelli is on the 60-day DL, who, he'll probably come back around mid-June, I guess. And then, like I said, the Michael Pineda and Ivan Nova injuries. So, those are big injuries for the Yankees. And then, there's been a couple of injuries. The biggest one as of right now is Bryce Harper with a torn ligament in his thumb, which he's going to be out till probably early July, which is a big loss for them, especially when you're missing Ryan Zimmerman as well for Washington. Doug Fister is out for them. They've had some, injury problems to talk about, really. I mean, they're big names, Doug Fister, Ryan Zimmerman, Bryce Harper, Ross Ollendorf. So, those are big injuries. The Yankees just got done with a series against Seattle. It was Cano's first series back in the Bronx, and they gave it to him. I was at the first game of that series, and the boos were loud. And I will not lie, one of them, booing was me, obviously. And it's just, when you look back at it and you see just the lineup that the Yankees have right now, and if you just add Cano to it, I mean, let's be serious. That's probably the best, lineup in the league. And I just feel like, and like, also when you think about it, do the Yankees sign Ellsbury or Tanaka, if Robinson Cano stayed? And I don't think it does. I don't think you do. So, you gotta kind of take what you get, really. And I'm happy with Tanaka and I'm happy with Ellsbury. Absolutely. And, Cano's struggling. I mean, he is batting around 300, but he's only got one home run. So, a guy that could have easily hit 30 home runs in Yankee Stadium is probably only going to maybe touch 20 at the most, and most of them will be on the road because, Safeco is a pitcher's ballpark. It's not a hitter's ballpark at all. And it's a big field. And he's just not going to hit as much as he will, with Yankee Stadium or any other place. But another big injury was Ryan Braun. He'll be out till maybe like mid-May or so. Put on the 15-day DL. David Freese from the Angels is day-to-day with a finger injury. Josh Hamilton out till probably early June. Joel Hannaran from the Detroit Tigers out till June-ish. Jay Bruce had, I think he had knee surgery. He'll be out till late May or so. Aroldis Chapman with the horrendous ball back to his face. Probably mid-May. He started pitching in simulated games, I believe, this last week. The Orioles, Tom's Orioles have Chris Davis out till mid-May with a rib injury. Atlanta with Irvin Santana being out day to day. And that's about it. Oh, and then you had Mark Trumbo from Arizona with a foot injury. He's out till early June-ish. So big injuries, as of right now, but none of them that serious. But as I was saying, the Yankees have been struggling a little bit. Their pitching has fallen apart. CeCe got shelled yesterday, Sunday night. It's tough because now not having Pineda and Nova, so it's all up to them how they're going to do it. And Girardi has to do a good job with mixing and matching, putting, different pitchers in, and maybe even going out and getting a pitcher. Brian Cashman has to maybe, look to see if he can make a trade or something like that. I believe you'll see a big trade for the Yankees over the trade deadline. I can see something like that happening, maybe getting an infielder, a solid infielder or something like that, or a pitcher. So we'll have to, take notice of that. But that will do it for the Tom and Jerry Sports Show. Thank you for sticking with me and being alone. But I'm Jerry. Be breezy. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Tom and Jerry Show.